There we go. All right. Good morning, KW Prosperity. It is Monday, June 15th, and we're moving right along. Mary Beth, it looks like you're muted, so we'll have to unmute you first. But I love your KW red. Your gear is very Keller Williams. You're still muted.
Unmute
Oh, there
now.
we go.
I am unmuted. I am unmuted now.
Now you're unmuted and ready to go. Well, good morning. Hope you had a nice weekend.
I did a lot of time with family, church family, and family.
Nice.
And church
I'm happy
family.
to hear that. And we have a really jam-packed week ahead. I mean, we've got our sales rally this week. We've got a full week of calls. I know Ron is teaching a class tomorrow on how to get the appointment. I think Sean has a class maybe later this week. So we have a lot of good content coming your way this week.
Yeah, and I mean, if Ron is teaching you how to get the appointment, that man is on appointments every day. So, yeah. And literally on appointments every day. There is an art to, I think somebody like Ron, as there are other agents in our environment that are also like that, it's part of a habit, and it becomes like the gym. That if you don't have an appointment every day, if you're not generating leads, if you're not cultivating, you can. It feels weird, like the day isn't a real day. Yep. So a lot of people say, well, how do you get to that point? It's conditioning. So if there's somebody that I would be listening to, it would definitely be Ron on how to get that appointment.
Absolutely. So definitely tune into that, as well as our sales rally tomorrow. We'll have a lot of good stats. We'll have a lot of good information to share with all of you. So today we're going to dive back into the MREA. We're definitely getting
we're sliding into home right now.
Yeah, I would say we'll be done with this probably either this week or next week, which will be a good way to end the month of June, before we maybe launch into the one thing or something.
I can't even imagine. You just said how we end the month of June.
I know.
That right there, though, is an eye-opener, because that means that we are in the mid-year point, yep. Right? Yep. We were just talking about, before we went live, guys, we were just talking about offering the opportunity to take mid-year business planning clinic. That is something that I am super passionate about, yep. And Matt is an awesome co-pilot with that. So I think we're going to do that in July for everybody, because it's a really good time to reassess what have you accomplished in the first 6 months. Okay, now that is your starting. Just the way we went into January with 0. Now yep. We're going to have a midpoint start, July 1. Exactly. And we're going to see what are we intending to close out before December 31st, 2020. So, some of us may have high hopes. Some of us may be a little apprehensive about setting those goals. But I assure you that because of this book that we are finishing up today or this week, that there's a plan. So if the gap is the same as the goal from the beginning of the year, and now in order for you to hit your goal, you need to be able to do that in half the time. Yep. Well, I mean, just double the efforts would be the simple way to just understand, okay, I do double the efforts. But I'm sure that there's some ways to maximize on the lead generation activities that you're doing, and the seasonality that will come in the next 6 months. We have to understand that also.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, so we'll definitely, you and I will connect later today to get that on our calendar for July, so that way we can broadcast that out to all of you, and as well as, invite, please. I encourage you to invite agents from other brokerages to attend. So we'll definitely get that back out to you later today. So now as we dive into the MREA, like we said, we'll definitely finish this by the end of this month. Last week we finished on page 266 and 267, which was really differentiating between working on your business and working in your business. So, working in, as we talked about, is when you're doing the actual day-to-day work of the business, whereas working on is when you're doing the work of planning and building the business. So really, as we transition from net $1 million to receive $1 million, that's going to be one of the biggest transitions, is working in your business, which was really more what you were doing and earn $1 million and net $1 million, to now working on your business, which is really where we're going to focus on receive $1 million. And today, what we're going to talk about is really the 4 challenges that you're going to face between going from net $1 million to receive $1 million. So I think as you've been noticing, we've been kind of, I don't want to say slowing down a bit, but they're much more higher level conversations. So it's not just as simple as like boom, boom, boom. We're really, letting things breathe and really going through each section.
But if you notice, like for us to get to the earn $1 million,
yep.
we were able to go pretty fast because it's just, first part was mindset.
Yep.
So guys, we're going to use this as a manual to go back to the first part probably every Monday.
Yeah.
Or Thursday, we call the realtor's first day of the week being like Thursday or so because you roll in. But you're going to revisit that section to get your mindset correct, your big why, your focus, and all that. But the second part, which we kind of went through fast because those were the basics of, and the 4 models, it really is a math problem. It is a schedule problem or challenge, right? That's all it is. And so if you master that and you go, well, I'm going to get those up to bats, I'm going to make those contacts because the machine says if I do this, I should get in front of this many people, which means we should close this. And then over time, you actually get better and the conversions are easier and you might make more money than you sought out in the first part of the plan. This part that we're talking about that we have slowed down the conversation is you stepping out of that machine that will absolutely run it to now understanding, with you removed, do you have a business? With you removed, is the machine still going to generate? And so that's what's happening right now. And I have to be honest, the first few years that I had this book, I didn't fully understand this part of the book. I didn't even go into it because my limiting belief was I'm going to get to $1 million first.
Yep. Now,
all the years of experience in the business, in multiple different roles and, instances, you realize that you need to be able to really hold all your decision making accountable, and it has to do with the people that you put in and the opportunities that you see inside of your local market, and who would have time to interview great people and strategize on where you want this machine to go if you don't take a step back and say, if I removed myself and gave myself that time to be the operator of this business, would I be able to get it to go to netting me $1 million, netting me, the owner of this business, $1 million? So I limiting belief was like, well, let me get to the $1 million first. And now being around tons of coaches, and I realized that I've only strived to be better and better, sometimes almost even unimaginable as to who I am right now, as to who I could be.
Yep.
But the only reason why I had that reach, that even look for, is because I put myself in those rooms that were not meant for me yet. I put myself inside those books and the conversations that, hey, I wasn't really ready yet to do that, but I was ready to receive it so I could start thinking about what I'm going to do when I have, as we were talking about before, a retirement account that is at $7 million, because that's what I'm going to need.
Yep.
So, or that's what I want, that's what I choose to have. And so I'm going to work a plan to get there. And that's all this is really understanding that you are working your plan to get wherever you want to be. And so if it's 100,000 a year, I think this book satisfies that. If it's $1 million a year, well, we can go to 10 million. And we know businesses that are generating 24, 25 million, and they're using these systems and models. So we would assume that their net take home is at least that 40%, 40, 50%. Imagine that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's actually
forget about the $1 million model. That's the $10 million model.
Well, and I think that's a really good segue into page 269. So we're starting to talk about the challenges that an agent will face going from net $1 million to receive $1 million. The first one is active versus passive income. And so really to what you were just talking about is, it's all about, in order to hit, whether that's 7 million, you're going to have both active income, passive income. You're going to need a bunch of different buckets in order to get to that end goal. And
I
so
mean, Ben Kinney was talking about the 5 buckets that we need, and there's even more than that. But you have real estate investment, you have your, your other businesses, and you have your commissions, you have some annuities or your, financial investments. And so when you look at all of that, if one bucket goes down and the other buckets are super healthy, well, then you're not at the mercy of that one bucket. And so inside of your business, it's the same thing, because you're going to have tons of people in your business. So,
Yeah, no, and I think the first thing to understand, like, for those of you on the call, as we're talking about active and passive income, defining them is, number one, active income is where you work for your money, where you're very, again, it's kind of working in the business. And passive income is where money works for you. So that's really more working on the business. And that's really where the Receive a Million is going to come into play.
And time out, because you said where the money works for you. With Keller Williams, we have another amazing opportunity. It's where the people, no financial investment, at all. It's just, hey, I care enough about you. Dana Cadena, let's just say that, because she's in my first level downline. I care enough about you for you to take a serious look at this opportunity. And then I care enough about you to take you along the journey, if you want it, with what I'm learning, so we can share, collaboratively have successes. And then when you make dollars, profits for the owner that you work for, I'm going to receive some financial benefit. So in that case, there's also some passive opportunities that, and profit share is not the only one, but there are some passive opportunities that are out there that you can take advantage of with no money in, just time and people. Ben Kinney actually said MLMs are a great extra bucket of income, in that you have so many tax write-offs with being an entrepreneur business owner. So.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that transitions nicely into the next part on page 270, which is really identifying dollars per hour, because you were kind of talking a little bit about that.
Well, when was I talking about that? I think the viewers might want to understand. I didn't actually say that dollar per hour, but when did you grab that concept?
Well, I grabbed it over the last couple of weeks, really. I mean, as we were transitioning from net a million to earn a million, I mean, a lot of that is, when we're looking at the 3 L's, what are the dollar producing activities? So, I think that's where it initially started.
Yeah.
And then now, as you're talking about passive income, I mean, it's how much time are you spending, whether you're attracting talent, whether you're building your business. I mean, no matter what, you need to focus on what you're doing and how much money you're actually making from that. And then also how you can detach yourself from it and still make money.
Sure. So in our roles, because we work for the Market Center, I have always looked at our organizational model and thought to myself, okay, where do I make, and I say this when I'm talking with agents that are in our organization, where do I make the most amount of money for the company? Because I'm a company girl. So where do I make the most amount of money for the company? But you guys are all company girls and guys inside of your own business. So the question needs to set, where do you make the most money for your company? So for Matt and I, it's in sharing information like this, so that maybe 20 of you get this message and implement some of it into your business. Where Matt and I make the biggest impact is when we bring great talent into our organization that wasn't previously there. When we rise up and we coach and train our agents so that they get to the next level of business, and they're natural attractors now to even more people, or inside of the organization, they're inspiring some that haven't hit their level quite yet. Law of the lid, always reaching up, right? So when we assess, Matt, where do we spend the most time? We spend the most time with our agents.
Yeah.
We don't spend time on building out the Facebook page or making a marketing piece. We have an amazing individual behind that, Allison, who she is there to execute our vision on where we'd like to see our story being told. But if we spent hours and hours inside of that, we would not have enough energy or time to do the things that matter the most to the company, to make the most money for the company, which then ultimately you can validate and prove why you should be at the max dollar per hour.
Exactly.
It's when you get sucked into simple. When you get sucked into marketing stuff and that is not where you're really making your money, and it's during times where you could be talking to buyers and sellers, that right there is where you've minimized your dollar per hour. You just put in 10 hours this week that were at $15 or $20 an hour when you should be at $400 and $800 an hour.
Yep. Yeah, no, and I love that. And I think, when we're looking at page 270, I don't want to necessarily read this section, but I think it's important to, I think this helps understand it for the people who are viewing. It says, for example, if a real estate agent, you net $300,000 per year and work 60 hours a week, 50 weeks a year to earn it, that's 3,000 hours. Your dollars per hour is $100 per hour. So that was 300,000 divided by 3,000, which equals $100 per hour. When you've built a business that nets the same amount, but you're working only 40 hours a week for 40 weeks, your dollars per hour looks like this. $300,000 divided by 1,600 hours, which was 40 weeks, which equals $187 per hour.
Mm-hmm.
Now, were it to become a business where you spend 10 hours a week for 40 weeks, so 400 hours a year working on your business, we're talking about on your business, your dollars per hour looks like this. $300,000 divided by 400 hours equals $750 per hour. So in the millionaire real estate agent model, it is possible with the right people and the right amount of leads, like we've been talking about, to earn 1 million in the same 400 hours. So in dollars per hour, that's 1 million divided by 400 hours, which equals $2,500 per hour in business passive income. So, refer back to page 270, but I did want to read that because I think it's important to show when you're scaling back on hours working in versus on, there's still that transition of the amount of money you're making, in the passive realm.
Yes. And so while you're getting to the passive, you're still on the active, and there's a little bit of both. I guess it really comes down to knowing what you're worth and knowing where you excel in your business. Because the other thing is, as someone who's a rainmaker and someone who has led teams, and it feels good to go ahead and do all the activities and show the whole team how to do everything, because you were a single agent at one point, and you most likely did it all really well. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got to this point with all these people. I've seen some really awesome businesses where it's one individual and they have admin, but they do all of showing, presenting, negotiating, but admin is heavily covered. Now, that's still, you're tied to I got to be the face and I'm the client, and that's a whole different business. But when you have leverage, you probably have done it well. You probably got your buyer's agent. You showed them how to shadow. You showed them how to show. You wrote contracts. You showed them how to negotiate. Like you have covered all of the business aspects. But I guess I'm asking you to ask yourself honestly, where do you make the most money for your business?
Yep.
And then realize that the rest of it is the 80% that you need to leverage off, and find somebody ASAP to do that, so that you can do more of the 20%.
Absolutely.
If you don't want more time right now, well, that just meant you just got 80% back of your time if you just stick to the 20% activity.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important to know where what your 20% is and what you like doing and what you're good at doing. Because as you're building your team, you're going to be able to find other talented people to take off some of the things that you may not like doing, or that may not be your strengths. Not that you can't do it, but that you might not be the best at. So, I think that's very important what you just said, is understand and think about what is your 20%, what do you like doing, and what can you leverage out?
Sure, and what's sustainable? Like in 18 months from now, when you got some leverage and people are doing show, and, do you still want to be going on buyer appointments? Is that something? If not, then realize that you need to be only on listing side by when? By next year's spring market. I only want to be on listing side. The rest of it exhausts me, drains me. People do it better than me. Let's just be honest. So, and if you still go, no, I think I'm the best at it. Cause I do think I'm pretty good at showing houses, but if you think you're the best at it, well, how about this? And this is where I had to, this is why I became a team leader. I could be the best at it, and I can go and affect 100 sellers this year,
Mm-hmm.
200 sellers, have a big business, right? Or I can be the team leader business coach that helps train, coach, consult hundreds and hundreds of agents.
Yeah.
And then they go ahead and do it with hundreds of clients. And now we've exponentially, accomplished what we were looking to do. So if you are leading your team, what about really going deep with your buyer business, that you do a once a week coaching and you do a shadow on a weekend and you do something at an open house, and that's your 3 things you do for your buyer team every week, so they're always getting you, showing them how is best to do it, and masterminding and collaborating. It doesn't mean, but that doesn't mean that you have to be showing houses on Saturday from 10 to 5 o'clock at night.
Exactly.
But you've trusted that your process of training and consulting and coaching your team members who handle the buyer side at a very high level, they're going to do great this weekend because you've put the time in a different way, guys, in a different way. So we're asking you to step out of your business, be the business owner today and in this section, and think about designing the perfect business, whether you can do it this year, next year, or even 2 years from now, or if it is an immediate goal or a 5-year goal, at least draw that out as to what it looks like.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good place to stop for today, because really the next section, which is page 272, it's the opportunity to the 7th level. And honestly, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, and that'll be exactly. I don't know if you can see. I'll hold it up on my end. I think your background. There you go. But we're going to dive deep onto page 272, 273. Tomorrow is our sales rally. So tomorrow we will not be doing an MREA call. So we will be continuing with this on Wednesday, where we'll be going to the 7th level and then the other 2 challenges. So again, no call tomorrow, and then we'll continue this on Wednesday. So we will see you then.
All right.
Thanks, Mary Beth. Bye.